you have to have a decent sound experience, because without that, you got a great car, but you need to have great fuel to put into it, if that makes sense. If you want a real cinematic experience, be it sport, you want to feel like you're in the stadium, be it a movie, like you want to feel like you're in the cinema with that extra bass and warmth.
No fluff, no jargon, just the honest truth from the name over the door. This is Dominic Smith Talks Tech.
These days when it comes to buying TV, it is very easy to get lost. OLED, mini LED, LED or QLED, soundbar or built-in sound, big screen or bigger budget TV. The choice can be paralysing. Today we're going to help you know exactly what you need, spend only what you should, and come home with a TV that genuinely transforms your viewing experience. To help, we have two of the best in the business, National Sales Manager for Samsung UK and Ireland, Dave West, and our very own TV expert, Rhys Owley. Welcome, guys.
Hi, Dominic. Hi, Rhys.
We're quite excited to get under the bonnet with what you should be looking for when you're going to buy a TV. We decided to run this one a little bit earlier than normal because generally it would be autumn, Christmas season kind of a topic, but with the World Cup coming up and the World Cup so far away, and unfortunately Ireland not in it, but we still are huge sports fans, so we'll no doubt be clued in. What should we be looking for if we're going to go ahead and change our TV? So first I want to put that to Dave. Dave, unless you're on the inside like we are looking at it, from the outside going out to buy a TV, you've got LED, mini LED, you've got OLED, you've got QLED, you've got so many different technologies. What typically should you be gravitating towards, and why?
Well, first of all, we're seeing a large increase in large screen TVs year on year. Across the market, sell in, sell out. And like we're finding that there's more and more 65-inch and above screen sizes selling. And the call for like 77-inch OLEDs, for example, is just been phenomenal of late. And customers are really looking to spend that bit more to get the better piece of quality, if that's what their budget is there for to do. But we're finding, overall, when you're going through the range of TVs itself, it's down to, first of all, budget. What are you using the TV? What's your expectation? Will you be gaming on the TV? Are you a big movie buff? Are you putting your TV into a bright room in a house, dark room in a house? When do you watch your TV mainly? Because when you think about it overall, people watch TVs around 8 hours a day on average.
Jesus, that much?
Yeah, up to, especially on weekends, even more. If you're watching a box set series of Game of Thrones or something like that, you could be hours and hours on a weekend in front of the TV. And we're finding as well that people are upgrading their TVs now as nearly as much as we're upgrading their phones, which is shocking when you think about it. But generally, we kind of expect the lifespan of a TV to be 5 to 7 years minimum from a Samsung perspective. But technology is always growing. It's always changing. So when you're looking to buy a TV, you're looking to, you want to do a bit of homework first of all, exactly what your expectations are, what your budget is. And yes, you have got different grades of technology. So you'll have Crystal UHD being the starting point, which would be generally a 60 hertz panel. And then technology goes up and up and up. So you'll have the likes of 165 hertz TVs, which gamers would absolutely love. And be more focused towards gaming and what we call movie buffs. It's all down to what your expectation is and what screen size you have room for. That's another thing too.
So if you're like me, who comes in at whatever time of the evening and watches the news, that might be it for the evening. What's the expectation there? Yeah,
okay. So look, if you're watching terrestrial TV via Sky or via Serview or anything in that respect, and you're watching the news and you don't really go into box sets, so on and so forth, well then you don't necessarily need to be spending a big fortune on a TV. It's literally, you're talking like you want to get a TV that's going to be good quality picture that can upscale somewhat, which increases the visualization of the picture and the quality of the picture that you're getting. And you have access to Netflix, because sometimes a lot of people want to be able to, stream, even not necessarily just watch the news. But then you're looking at maybe your Crystal UHD TV. Or if you want to go that little bit above and spend that little bit more, you get a better quality picture in a mini LED or QLED, where you can then get a 5-year warranty as well on the TV, which is kind of important that you've got that bit of trust behind the product as well, that, okay, if anything goes wrong, I'm being looked after down the road. And Samsung give a 5-year warranty on our mini LED and above.
Yeah, which is fantastic, to be fair. So move from that then, from your basic viewing to your sport, your streamer, not necessarily your gamer, but somebody who enjoys a box set or enjoys a movie on a Saturday evening, or like me last night, stood up at all hours watching golf, or the GAA on a Sunday or Saturday evening. What's going to give you that most pleasurable viewing from a Samsung perspective? What's going to work for you?
We have, in fact, a new feature in our TVs this year called Game Mode Pro, which literally, if you're watching a match, the TV recognizes automatically that you're watching a game of football or a golf. And it really kind of enhances that viewing experience and sound experience too. So if you're probably, for gamers, I would generally look at, like, it can't be like a Neo QLED or an OLED. If you're watching TV during the daytime, that's the thing. If you're watching a match during the daytime, then you want to have a bright picture. If you're sitting inside a window, for example, and the sun is beaming in on top of you, watching a game of golf or a football match, then you want to be having a really good bright picture or some way of enhancing that reflection on the screen as well. So we have anti-reflective screens in some of our TVs as well, which cater for that viewing experience. But overall, I would suggest that when you're looking, if you're into gaming into watching a match, rather say, into hurling or golf, then I'd be looking at something like a Neo QLED or an OLED TV, because they would be the superior technology to give you that real depth and the experience of feeling that you're in the stadium and watching the match. It's not just your viewing experience, by the way, it's the sound as well. So we've always got a saying in the industry, your experience is 50% viewing, 50% sound. So yet again, it's important to have that sound element. Sound quality goes up, but the TVs go up as well in that respect.
So we're talking about Crystal UHD as your entry-level TV. So typical 55-inch, and that would be what, 400 quid each, something like that?
Yeah, around that, yeah.
And you step up then to mini LED and QLED. So where are we going then, money-wise?
So mini LED, you're talking about the 55-inch starting point of mini LED for this year. You'll probably be talking around 600 to 700 euros.
For a 55-inch?
For 55-inch, in around that. Guide RP, that's up to the retailer in that respect.
Of course, yeah.
But then when you go into the OLED market, which OLED is a different technology yet again, it's a self-emissive pixel that every individual pixel lights up itself independently of each other, and you get more detailed contrast, pure blacks but pure colors. Then you're talking anything from, say, Guide RP of 999 or above for a 55-inch.
It's amazing, isn't it, when you get used to that? Like, I have an OLED for the last number of years, and it's just such a pleasure to sit down and watch it. Like, I mean, I can't imagine.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Can't imagine going back to watch anything else, because you get it's so natural. You know, the color is so natural, the motion is so smooth. You know, it's different level. And tell me now, Dave, the big question: World Cup promos coming, or stuff for the customer out there who may be thinking about, okay, well, I want to sit in and watch my matches when they're on the World Cup, because I'm your typical World Cup viewer. I don't really watch the beginning of it, and then when the exciting stuff starts, my quarterfinals, etc., I'm engrossed. I can't miss a match. So what have you got anything happening for World Cup?
Well, we've launched already our campaign at the moment, which is our cashback campaign. So Samsung as a brand, we are now 20 years global number one for TV sales.
Oh, here you go with your corporate stuff. So, yeah. Number one.
Exactly. But facts don't lie and figures don't lie. So literally what we've done is we've launched a promotion. So we're in the middle of changing our range from 2025 models to 2026 range, which are about to land in store in the next couple of weeks. And we've launched cashback, up to 20% cashback upon selected lines. And that's what the customer could go along and redeem 30 days after purchase. Between 30 days and 60 days after purchase, they can go online and redeem up to 20% cashback on a TV that they buy in store from Samsung.
It's phenomenally strong, yeah. It's very strong. Yeah, it's a super offer, yeah.
And it's across the OLEDs, Neo QLED. You know, it can be quite a chunk of money back to the customer on the back end.
And we know you're biased, Dave, and you're you know, with your Samsung, you're particularly good to deal with, to be fair to you. But if you're going out tomorrow, you're a customer, you're going into your local store there in Nina, or wherever you're going, and you say, I'm going to buy a TV, what would you gravitate towards? What would you be your TV that you would say, I'd love to have that at home, you know?
Well, given the house I'm in, it is kind of a dark house, and this is kind of key for me. In fact, it's the environment that you're putting the TV into, and the best probably TV for my experience would be an OLED TV. But the thing is that where I'm putting the TV inside a window in a dark house, I will still watch the TV during the day.
Right.
So I want to get that anti-reflective screen.
Okay.
Because if I ever do move down the road and I move into a brighter house, then at least I'm covered there for the future as well.
Okay.
So for me, I would probably go with the S90 or the S95 OLED.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
S95 more than likely OLED, yeah.
You skipped across a couple of other things there that, you didn't mention lifestyle, which of course is a massive sector in with you guys. Yeah. Just maybe explain that or roll that out a little bit first. Yeah,
so people want to have that unique centerpiece in their house. We have a lifestyle range of TVs as well called the Frame. So the Frame literally is an art TV. It's like a piece of art on the wall, a painting, and you get a little clip-on bezel. You can choose your own color bezel that clips around it, like a wood effect, for example. And it has a fully anti-reflective screen. So when you go into the room, you can have a picture of your family portrait on the TV, or a piece of art from Da Vinci or Picasso or somebody, because there's an art store there, Samsung Art Store, where you can download the artwork accordingly onto the TV as well, or you can upload your own pictures. And when the TV's on standby, it looks like a painting on the wall. Now this TV's got a matte finish, so it's literally a matte display. There's no glossy shine to it. But when you go and press the power button or the home button, it turns into a smart TV.
Yeah. It's really class.
Absolutely. Yeah. So this year sees us launch what we call the Frame Pro. And that launches, in fact, in the next 2 weeks. And the Frame Pro will have what we call a wireless One Connect box on the 55-inch or above screen sizes. Last year it was in the 65 and above. And this is literally going to be, the TV will hang on the wall. There's no USB ports or HDMI at the back of the TV. They're in a box that can be hidden away up to 10 meters away, and it sends the wireless signal. You can plug in your Skybox into the One Connect box, and it wirelessly sends a signal from the box to your TV. So literally the TV is just hanging on the wall. You'll have a power socket probably built in behind the wall. That's all the idea of it. And you don't see any cables around the wall, the TV at all. It just looks like a painting on the wall. Amazing.
Yes, it's superb, yeah, in fairness. And the projector, how are we doing with that?
Yeah, so we have a couple of projectors in America. We've got a freestyle projector, which can go up to 100-inch screen size. In fact, it's a cracking little device that you can remotely carry around with you. You can plug in a wireless battery charger or a battery pack into it as well if you want to go camping, for example. It self-calibrates, so it finds its own level, in fact, which is a great little projector, in fairness. So it's guiding. It's probably in the retail market, probably around the $599 mark at the moment. Might be even a bit more attractive price point in the coming weeks. But you then have got what we call short throw projectors. So there's different type of projectors. So the Freestyle literally is a smart projector operating on the Samsung Tizen operating system platform, same as what our TVs are. And literally, then you can bring this with you anywhere in your backpack. It's a little round cylinder sort of a projector. Then you have what we call a short throw projector. Short throw projectors, they're 4K, and they are what they're doing in the tin. So literally you can have a short throw projector a couple of inches away from a wall or from a screen, and then it can short throw up to 120, 130-inch screen in front of you. And we have the Premier 5, which is the one that we're kind of ranging as one that we newly launched recently. And the Premier 5 is a touchscreen short throw projector, which is quite a unique experience.
Yeah, class,
so literally, if you're presenting in a boardroom or a classroom or even at home, you can literally go and touch the wall at such a degree, and then press the home button if you don't want to use the remote, and you can use it just like a touchscreen TV, but it's a projector. Quite an unusual experience to use, I have to say.
Pretty cool for a match, though. 120-inch screen for
It would be, absolutely would be, and it saves 120-inch screens. Anything around 100-inch TVs, very heavy on the wall in that respect. So, you don't have that weight. If you're living in a house with dry line walls and you're concerned about having too much weight on the wall, projector is probably the best way to go for something like that.
And then adding sound to some of these TVs. Like, I know some of them don't particularly need it. Some of the higher end ones are probably pretty good. But if you're adding on a sound bar, say, for for your QLED or your mini LED. Should you do that?
Yeah. So as I kind of alluded to earlier on, like sound is 50% of the viewing experience and your experience of watching a match or watching a movie. Our TVs have got what we call object tracking sound in the TV itself. Literally, it tracks the sound as like a tank is going across the screen. So it'll track the noise of the tank going across the screen. But it doesn't give you the full 3D Dolby Atmos experience, what we call. And what that is literally Dolby Atmos is where your TV and your soundbar work in unison together. And literally they throw the sound literally behind you as well. So it's giving you like a 3-dimensional sound, like you experience in a cinematic sound. So without a good soundbar, you're not going to have that experience. And I always really suggest that when you're in a store, you're watching your TV, you're going to buy a TV, just listen to the soundbar with it as well. Just ask for a demonstration in store of the soundbar on and off. And that is really an eye-opener, I have to say. We also have, obviously you got wireless Dolby Atmos. So if you're wall mounting your TV and your soundbar, you don't need to have cables going between the TV and soundbar. If it's Samsung TV and Samsung soundbar, I will be biased again. We have wireless Dolby Atmos. So then you don't have to have them slightly cables on the wall in that respect as well. But soundbars are really, really important. If you want a real cinematic experience, be it sport, you want to feel like you're in the stadium, be it a movie, like you want to feel like you're in the cinema with that extra bass and warmth.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Obviously, the better soundbar, yes, you will pay a little bit more, but soundbar will last you for years and years and years, and they won't go out of date.
What I find as well is, even if I'm not watching TV, I stream music from the phone to the soundbar, just to relax a bit and maybe do a bit of reading, or even if you're working in that particular room, you just have stuff on the soundbar, so it's you can utilize it in that regard too, which is
yeah, exactly. You got tap. We have a thing as well called Tap View. So if you got a smartphone, obviously, and you want to use like Spotify and play Spotify in your soundbar, you just literally go along and you just tap your phone on the soundbar, and then it'll wirelessly share your music stream from your phone to the soundbar. It's quite a good experience in fairness. And it's done by the Samsung SmartThings app, but it's literally, it's a great, unique experience.
And all the new range landing next month?
Yeah, so it's starting to arrive very quickly, I have to say. This time of year, things change quite quickly. And so in the next 2 weeks, we'll start seeing the new range start to drop into store as well. So there's some great offers in store in the moment, obviously. And as we're changing to new stuff, we'll literally launch with a new offerings as well on the new range.
Any significant changes?
There's some big changes, in fact, this year and across the overall technology sector. So we have, in fact, got, for years, we've had QLED TVs, which are literally their inorganic panel. It's like crystals in the screen. Now, what's happened this year is they've been replaced, and there's new technology coming in called mini LED and micro RGB. So there's two technologies coming. So mini LED literally is going to be, the pixels are 40 times smaller than the standard pixel would have been. So you're getting more pixels in a panel, they're more compressed, you get more detail, more contrast, more vibrancy. And that's early in the range. You're talking from maybe €400 or above TVs, you know what I mean, depending on the screen size. And then what we have then this year is micro RGB. So this is a real game changer of a technology. So for years we've had OLED. OLED's an organic material that literally over time, it's a cracking TV, it's a cracking technology, but the future is going to be changing. So we need to have them TVs getting brighter and brighter because people are asking for more color. They're expecting more bang for the buck. We've now got micro RGB as technology landing, and what you get there is like it's signifies home theater experiences. It's instantaneous pixel responses as well. So where OLED is individual pixels, micro RGB is going to be exactly the same, but brighter again. And it's clean, as I say, RGB, red, green, and blue pixels. So you get more color, more vibrance than what OLED can punch out in that respect as well. So that's a new technology that's launching this year. And we have some other new developments as well, even on people that want just a basic TV, that you just want to have a kitchen TV. We've got a 40-inch HD model for the first time this year as well.
Dave, just a couple of more things, if you don't mind. screen size. So I don't know whether I'm putting it on the wall potentially, or I'm not putting it on the wall and putting it on the stand. How do you decide, or what's the perfect optimum in terms of buying a new TV and getting that size right?
The general rule of thumb would be, if you're going for a 75-inch TV, that you'll be 7.5 feet back. If you're going for a 65-inch TV, you're 6.5 feet back. So you think about the 7, 5, and 6, and literally go by the distance in that rule of thumb. If you're going for a 100-inch TV, then they reckon you should be 9 feet 8 back.
And as against the wall, because this is a common thing. Most people nowadays are putting the TV on the wall, but there is still that stand experience out there where you're putting on a piece of furniture or wherever the case may be, and that affects the size, because the unit looks a little bit bigger when it's sitting on the stand, and when it's on the wall, there's an illusion that it's actually a bit smaller than it physically is. So, what would be your bit of advice on that one?
Well, first of all, if you're keeping the same TV stand and it's something that's a permanent fixture to your home, you need to bear that in mind when you're buying your TV. First of all, has the TV got a center stand or not? If it doesn't, if it's got peg legs, wide feet, can they move in? Which a lot of TVs do nowadays. You can move them into the center to be able to fit on one of these TV stands. And if you go into a TV stand in a corner, you need to make sure that the TV is going to fit in that corner before you buy it. Bring it home, unpack the box, and all of a sudden the TV's too big. You're there, oh, what do I do? Packaging is gone, it's in the bin. You're leaving the retailer in a kind of a tricky situation then. So,
but would you downsize a little bit though, the fact that it's on the stand?
I probably would if it's on a stand, but it's the stand is not the be all and end all. If it fits on the stand, that's great, but it needs to fit into the corner where the stand is, because generally a stand would be in a corner, and if it's you need to bear in mind is at an angle, and if you're sitting at an angle, then you're looking at a TV screen at an angle, then you got the optimal viewing angle. Because sometimes TVs, you can lose that viewing experience when you're looking at the TV at an angle as well. So you need to get a TV with wide viewing angle.
So 7.5 feet from a 75 and 6.5 feet-ish, or the equivalent in meters from a 65 inch, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to talk about, when I changed my TV, I had my beloved plasma TV for an awful long time, maybe 10 years. And when I changed it, one of the big things was the energy efficiency. I had a TV that was burning over 560 kilowatts. And when I got my new OLED, it was down to 100 and odd kilowatts. So that's a big move clearly for the brands, for the direction of it. Where are we at with current or the new technologies in terms of energy efficiency?
Yeah, so the TVs nowadays are designed to optimize, make themselves more energy efficient as possible. It's obviously down to the user experience in that respect too. So when you first buy a TV, you switch it on, it automatically wants to switch it into its own AI energy saving mode. And you have got features on the TV that you can, if you go into the settings, so you can have power and energy saving settings, which is optimized, especially that the screen will kind of power itself off after so long of unusage. If it realizes that no one's watching the TV, our TV's got little sensors on them. They can tell if you're in the room, or if there's, noise in the room. It'll increase the brightness depending on how bright the room is, if it needs to be. But at night time, it automatically dim the brightness that bit. So you've got, energy efficiency is key. All TVs have got their own energy rating legally anyway. So yet again, when you're buying your TV, you can see on the energy label on the TV, you see exactly the energy rating and the usage consumption, which manufacturers provide as well. So that's all visible in the store as well.
It is. It's legislation and it's important, but it's just amazing the TV prices have pretty much come down so much, but the quality of the pictures enhanced and the energy efficiency is now under control. So
it's all down to upscaling and processing power. That's exactly it. And literally,
good news overall. Thank you, Dave. Rhys Owley from our Gorey store, our store manager in Gorey, and our super TV salesperson is joining us as well, Dave. He's going to jump in here. So Rhys, talk to us about typical experience in the store. I walk in with the family, I'm thinking of a new TV, I don't know what size, I don't know what brand, I don't know what to go for, I'm not sure how much it's going to cost. How do we take somebody through that process of narrowing this down to a suitable product?
Well, I think nowadays, I don't think that the customer is tied to a particular brand anymore. So if they had, say, whether it be Samsung for the last 10 years, whether it be LG, Sony, because technology is revolving each year. That's one thing that you tend to not try and, tie a customer down to. I suppose, secondly, then, as well as Dave mentioned earlier, where's the customer going to be putting this TV? What's the usage of the TV? Any kids for gaming? So it's all about finding out what is the customer satisfaction on why they're purchasing or why they're upgrading the TV at home. And then I suppose it's down to trying to get the benefits across to the customer. Don't be tying them down to a particular budget, because then maybe, they won't be, I suppose, getting across the point of, with that little bit of extra money, you might get X benefit, Y benefit. But yeah, it's, again, I see at the moment that there's no tie to a brand anymore. People tend to want to explore.
So just to evolve that a little bit, so we're talking about where are you positioning? Is the room bright? Is it dark? Is this your main TV or secondary TV, or is it just for gaming only, or is it a movie TV that you go into a particular room of an evening to stream? I would find that on an older TV that I have, the experience on the streaming, and you might jump in, David Vaseka, is enhanced on the newer one, on the OLED that I have in the main room. So that's obviously down to evolving technologies as well, is it?
Yeah, that would be generally down to upscaling technology and processing. So the likes of, just give an example, Netflix, for example. If you've got a standard subscription in Netflix, you don't have the UHD subscription, the TV will do its best to try and upscale that HD to 4K to UHD. Let the upscalers do the work behind the scenes to increase that picture and that viewing experience. And that's all done to process. And yes, it requires internet as well to do so. So, internet speeds need to be, say, 30 meg or above, be realistic to have the best viewing experience.
Yeah, I think you mentioned it earlier as well, Dave, with the likes of your operating systems becoming more advanced as the years has rolled on. Like even 4 years ago, we had a basic Tizen OS operating system, with your drop-down menu on the bottom. Simple to use for the customer, but as years has rolled on, we have a much better operating system with your Tizens and Samsung, your WebOS, with your LG, that, just for even ourselves, that if we're watching a particular program on Netflix or a series, that it'll entice you to, watch the next episode rather than having to click into your app, scroll down, maybe search for that, movie that you stopped midway through the evening before, so it's much more user friendly.
Yeah, generally the whole experience on the operating system is designed to get to know what the customer's likes are, what their viewing habits are. So, for example, it'll give you recommendations on Netflix, so you're only one click away from Netflix or from Amazon Prime, Clarkson's Farm or anything in that respect. It'll come up because it knows you've watched it before, and the new series launches, the TV will know, oh, you like to watch this maybe, or whatever it may be. And as you say, bring you straight back in accordingly. So the operating systems have just improved, but they're designed, it's not just brand specific, but operating systems are designed for TVs, specifically for TVs, unlike mobile phones, because they need to do different things. They operate different ways, and they're always ever evolving. So same with Tizen has been one example, but other brands have their own operating systems, and they're designed to follow the steps of what the TV viewing experience is. That's the overall rule of thumb. So,
and Rhys, on that then, so customer comes in, not brand led, maybe has had one of the brands for the previous 8 to 10 years. I know, because I've seen you in action, takes a customer through the comparable models across 3 or 4 ranges. I know we've introduced Hisense recently, so that's another one to be added in. So that process, typically, how long does that take on average to get to the point where okay, we've decided it's a 55-inch. Our old model was a 48-inch, or as it used to be 50 or 42 back in the day, but they used to have the big wide frame in them. And now we've discovered that, okay, well, it's more screen, the frame is gone, or the bezel or the edge, as we call it. So that now is used up by more screen, and we can now go to a 55-inch. How long does that typical process take, or that consultation take, to get to that point where we're ticking all these boxes?
I suppose it's hard to pinpoint an exact time frame, but typically, in, I suppose, personal experience, it should take within half an hour anyway I suppose at the end of the day, it's an investment of what you're making for your overall experience at home. Like anything, whether it be white goods for your upgrading in the house and whatnot, it should never be rushed. It should always be half an hour at least, in my opinion.
I know what TV you have, but if you were going in, we know that Dave is going to go into the store tomorrow and buy an S95 anti-reflection, anti-glare screen for his house. But that's because he has to, because he works for Samsung. But you're going in, Rhys, right? And you're head scratching there and you're going, this is the TV I want to put on the wall at home. The World Cup is coming. There's a bit of an offer on it. I've got the warranty. What are you going to go with? What's your go-to?
So I suppose I'm lucky enough that I have the best of both worlds in terms of a Neo QLED and a QN90, and I also have an S90 OLED then as well, but completely different viewing, I suppose, experiences of where the TVs are. So with the Neo QLED down in the main sitting room, nice and bright. So just to, I suppose, counteract that brightness levels within the room, you do have your 2000 nit level to counteract that. So fantastic TV. And then the OLED then upstairs. But personally, I would always try to recommend OLED for your true black levels. Your viewing angle overall is second to none. Yeah, your overall color contrast is, with your 4K on your Netflix, your Amazon Prime is just second to none.
But then, in store, we would do a comparable on, your C series LG to your S90, or your B series LG to your S85 and your Samsung, and so on and so forth. So, like, oftentimes, and I've seen this myself, customers will be gravitating from one to the other because they might find the black content a bit better, or maybe the colours a little bit brighter. Oftentimes it comes down to the remote control. Have a look at the remote control. See, you don't want a complex, difficult scenario with remotes, etc., etc. So sound is another one. We spoke about it earlier, that you're experiencing that in store. It's up and down the sound. Make sure that you're happy with this is the one thing about online purchasing that can be difficult. You don't get those experiences if you go to a website. We have our own website, and sometimes I see stuff, being purchased on the website, and I'm thinking, God, I wonder is that, I often worry about, hopefully they know or they understand that this is the customer I'm talking about, that, there is a difference for 50 or 60 or 100 quid more that's quite valid. And the beauty about in-stores, we're able to go through that, through the different brands, etc. Well, just one thing, guys, for the gamers out there, that's another evolving minefield of streaming and apps, etc. What can we offer there?
I think there's been a huge pickup, Dave, within the last even 2-3 years. I see a lot of the time now that the customer will, spend that little bit extra for that faster refresh rate. And as well as that, with the price range being so reasonable, personally, in my opinion, you can get a 120 hertz refresh rate with a 5-year warranty in both your LG, Samsung for $849.
Yeah, exactly. And it's probably going to get more competitive again, even more so this year. Obviously, the real gamers that use like graphics cards and their own systems and so on and so forth, they want to have the best panel, the best viewing experience that they can get. And generally you'd be looking at being up to 165 hertz now. And that's literally the future of gaming in that respect. But we have them panels like the S95, for example, or the new RGB R85, R95 is coming. That'll be 165 hertz panel. So for those gamers that are really into using their, internal systems in-house, but want to have a TV for a viewing experience, and not just a gaming monitor, you can have both. We also have Game Mode Pro on the TVs as well. And one thing with the TVs as well for the last couple of years, we've had Xbox Game Pass. And this is quite popular, in fact, and it's across all the range. It used to be on the more premium sets, but it's across the whole range of TVs now. Xbox Game Pass, and it's an app, obviously, that if you have an Xbox at home and you got maybe 3 or 4 kids in the house, for example, and the children are screaming who's using the Xbox upstairs, well, if you got a spare TV, then they can get the wireless controller, pair it up with the TV, and game on the TV without having a console. And that's the future of gaming. I think Xbox they announced as well that they're only going to make one more Xbox console itself, because the future is going to be online streaming and online gaming.
I've seen that the monthly subscription then as well for Xbox, they're the only company that have actually reduced their monthly subscription fee. So there's another very good selling point.
There's not much you see coming down in price these days.
No, that's for sure. Televisions and monthly subscriptions are
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else to add, Rhys, in terms of that experience?
I think soundbar wise, we touched on it earlier, but we didn't really touch on where the actual sound is coming from the TVs nowadays. So obviously with panels now, they're getting slimmer, color range is getting better, your brightness levels, your nit level, but overall sound in a TV, as Dave touched on it, it's good, but would always definitely recommend a soundbar. In terms of channels, traditionally a TV's sound would have either came from the bottom of the TV or the back of the TV. With Sony themselves, now they have a pattern that the sound will travel from the screen directly on selected models only, but with your soundbar, you're enhancing your channel levels, so your sound is traveling directly to you rather than whether it be from the bottom of the TV or the back of the TV. So would always recommend a soundbar.
You have a thing as well called Q Symphony that plays the sound for the TV and soundbar together at the same time now, and that's something that we've been pioneering for a few years. But overall, I agree, you have to have a decent sound experience, because without that, you're literally, you got a great car, but you need to have great fuel to put into it. If that makes sense, it's, goes without saying.
I would also say, and we're all seeing this, as the trend with the media walls. So we're all building these media walls in our homes or new renovations, and you're building this nice media wall, and you have nice areas either side of it, and it's nice and streamlined, and the TVs to fit flush in this media wall. It can't sit out beyond it. So that has an effect on backfiring and downfiring speakers and upfiring speakers. So you definitely would need to put a soundbar in with that, because you're not going to get that experience at all if you go media wall and you're right on the TV, because when it fits flush inside in that, it's like a box, so it's going to be hollow. So there are considerations I would suggest that people would take into account when they're going out to buy the new TV. Thank you, guys. Thanks for joining us on this Monday morning. And just to reiterate, some very, very good offers for World Cup there now, and some more coming. Some new range coming in at the moment, which is great. A bit earlier than usual because of I guess the World Cup is the big. Even though Ireland unfortunately are not in it, but we'll all be watching. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining us today and for your insights. We'll chat to you soon. Thank you very much for listening to our podcast, and we'll catch up with you shortly.
Thank you for listening to our podcast today. If you would like to find out more about what we covered in this episode, you'll find notes, links, and more in the description area of this podcast. Do remember to press follow for our show so you get the next episode automatically. Also, please do share with a friend who you think would find it interesting. Just tell them to search for Dominic Smith Talks Tech on their podcast app. Our podcast today was produced by dustpod.io and brought to you by DominicSmithElectrical.com. Until next time, thank you for listening.